I used to think words were just words, fleeting, meaningless when spoken in anger. But sometimes, a single sentence can hit harder than a punch. A single moment can unravel everything you thought was real. Why don't you just disappear? Mia's voice cut through the dinner table silence like a blade. She wasn't screaming, wasn't throwing a tantrum like she used to when she was younger. No, this was different. Her voice was calm, precise, like she'd been waiting for the moment to say it. And then came the killing blow. "We'd be better off without you," Rachel said. At first, I thought I misheard. Maybe I was so shaken by Mia's words that my mind filled in the gaps. But no, Rachel's tone was measured, steady. She didn't say it in a fit of rage. She didn't throw her fork down dramatically. She just said it, like it was fact, like she'd already decided. I stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, to soften the blow, to do something, anything, to show she didn't mean it. But she just picked up her wine glass and took a slow sip, avoiding my eyes. The air in the room changed. You ever notice how silence isn't just the absence of sound? Sometimes, silence is heavy, pressing down on your chest, making it hard to breathe. That's what this silence felt like. I looked at Mia, 16 years old. My daughter, not by blood, but by choice. She was 12 when I married Rachel, already headstrong, already skeptical of me. I spent years, earning her trust. Late-night conversations about books, movie nights where she'd pretend not to enjoy my stupid dad jokes, helping her with homework when she struggled but was too proud to ask her mom for help. And now, for words had wiped all of that away. I could have fought back, could have demanded an explanation, could have reminded them of all the times I'd been there when Jordan, the man who contributed DNA but nothing else, had disappeared for years at a time. But I didn't. I didn't say a single word. I just stood up, my chair scraping against the wooden floor, and walked upstairs. The weight of their stares followed me as I moved through the house. I wanted to turn back, to catch a flicker of regret in Rachel's expression, to see if Mia was shocked by what she'd said. But I didn't give them that satisfaction. I walked into our bedroom, grabbed my old duffel bag from the closet, and started packing. Not mindlessly, carefully. I wasn't storming out in a fit of rage, grabbing whatever I could and shoving it into a suitcase. No, I packed with purpose. A few shirts, enough clothes for a few days. My toothbrush, phone charger, passport, just in case. As I packed, I noticed something strange. My hands weren't shaking. I always thought that if my marriage ever came to this, I'd be a wreck, pleading, breaking down, trying to fix things. But I wasn't. I was calm, too calm. Downstairs, I could hear hushed voices. Mia's footsteps as she stormed off to her room. The clinking of dishes as Rachel cleared the table. But no one came upstairs. No one stopped me. The realization hit like a gut punch. They didn't care. They weren't expecting me to fight back. They weren't expecting me to stay. And for the first time in my life, I truly felt like an outsider in my own home. I zipped up my bag, slung it over my shoulder, and made my way downstairs. Rachel was leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Her expression was unreadable. Not angry, not regretful, just waiting. "So you're just leaving?" she asked. "You said you'd be better off," I replied, checking my pocket for my keys. "I'm respecting that." Her lips parted slightly like she was about to say something, but she stopped herself. Pride? Guilt? Or maybe she was just too damn stubborn to admit she didn't mean it. I walked to the front door, gripping the handle. Before I left, I turned to look at her one last time. "You know," I said quietly, "when Mia said those things before, it hurt. But hearing you agree, that broke something, Rachel." She blinked, just once. No sharp retort, no biting comment. Just silence. I opened the door and stepped out. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but I welcomed it. It felt more real than anything that had happened in the last hour. I got into my car and drove away without looking back. It wasn't until I pulled into Noah's driveway that it really hit me. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't just a bad night. I might never go back. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure if I wanted to. Waking up in an unfamiliar bed wasn't the worst part. It was the silence. You ever notice how a house sounds different depending on who's in it? Even in sleep, a home is alive, soft breathing from the next room, the creak of someone shifting under the covers, the faint hum of the fridge or the whisper of the heater kicking in. But Noah's guest room was silent. Not peaceful, not comforting, just empty. I stared at the ceiling, replaying last night's events over and over again in my head. Why don't you just disappear? We'd be better off without you. The words had settled into my chest like stones, pressing down with every breath. I thought maybe, in the light of day, it would hurt less. Maybe I'd wake up to a text from Rachel saying she didn't mean it. Maybe Mia would apologize. I turned over and grabbed my phone. 27 missed calls. Rachel, Mia, even Olivia, my sister. I exhaled slowly. I should have felt relieved, right? If they were calling, it meant something had changed. Maybe regret had set in. Maybe Rachel had realized what she'd said. Maybe Mia had seen my empty chair at the breakfast table and felt a twinge of guilt. Maybe, but something felt off. Rachel wasn't the kind of person who'd call 15 times unless something was wrong. Olivia wasn't the type to get involved unless she had to. A bad feeling crawled up my spine. I sat up and pulled on my jeans, still creased from yesterday. Noah was already in the kitchen when I stepped out, scrolling on his phone, a cup of coffee in his free hand. "You look like hell," he said without looking up. "Good morning to you too," I muttered, grabbing a mug. He finally glanced at me. "You check your phone yet?" "Yeah." I took a sip of coffee. 27 missed calls. Noah raised an eyebrow. "You call back?" I shook my head. He studied me for a moment, then turned his phone around and slid it across the counter. I stared at the screen. At first, I didn't process what I was looking at. It was a photo. A smiling man, sitting at a table in a restaurant, tagged at a location in Chicago. The caption was simple: "Reunited at last. Family is everything." And there, right next to him, was Mia, smiling, happy. The man sitting beside her was Jordan. I blinked, looked again. My stomach twisted. When was this taken? My voice came out low, steady. "Posted last night," Noah said, taking a sip of his coffee. "Looks like he's been back in town for a while." I stared at Mia's face in the picture. That hopeful smile, the kind she used to get when she thought something amazing was about to happen. When she got accepted to that summer program last year. When I taught her how to drive, and she finally nailed parallel parking. She was looking at Jordan that way, like he was the answer to everything. Like he hadn't abandoned her for years. I scrolled down, my hands tightening around the phone. The comments were filled with heart emojis. Friends saying things like, "So happy for you," and "finally together." They didn't know. They didn't know that Jordan had missed 6 birthdays. That he'd promised Mia a trip to the beach when she was 10 and never showed up. That the last time he'd come back into her life, he had stayed for 2 weeks before disappearing again. And Rachel, she let this happen. I opened my call log, hovered over Rachel's name. I should call. I should demand an explanation. But I didn't. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in months. I checked Mia's Instagram. Her latest post was a selfie with Jordan. The caption? "Real family time." I inhaled sharply. My grip tightened on the phone. Real family. I wasn't in any of her photos. I scrolled further, past old posts, past birthday pictures, past vacation photos. It took me too long to realize what was wrong. I wasn't in any of them. Not one. Even photos I knew I had been in. The trip to Yellowstone last summer, Christmas morning by the tree, her 16th birthday party. I was gone. Not just untagged. Removed. A hollow feeling settled in my chest. This wasn't just about last night. This wasn't anger. This wasn't rebellion. This was erasure. I set the phone down carefully. My coffee had gone cold. I pushed it aside. Noah must have seen something in my face because his expression shifted. "You okay?" I exhaled, slow, measured. "No." He nodded like he expected that. "You gonna call her?" Rachel's name was still on my screen. I stared at it. Then I looked back at Mia's Instagram. Real family time. I made a decision. I slid the phone back across the counter and stood up. "I'm going home," I said. Noah didn't try to stop me. Because this time, I wasn't going back for them. I was going back to see what was left of me. The drive home was quieter than I expected. No radio. No traffic noise that I paid attention to. Just the sound of my thoughts, circling the same realization over and over again. I had been erased. Not just forgotten, not just ignored. Erased. Mia hadn't just stopped talking to me. She had rewritten history. The vacations, the birthdays, the moments we shared, gone. And Rachel had allowed it. The closer I got to the house, the tighter the knot in my stomach became. I didn't know what I was walking into. Were they waiting for me? Had Mia even noticed I was gone? Did Rachel regret anything? Or was she already imagining a life where I didn't exist? I pulled into the driveway, staring at the house I had called home for years. Nothing looked different from the outside. The lawn was still neatly trimmed. The lights were still on. If a stranger had passed by, they wouldn't have guessed that the man inside had been told he was disposable less than 24 hours ago. I stepped out of the car, pocketed my keys, and made my way up the porch. My fingers hesitated on the door handle. I wasn't coming back to beg. I wasn't coming back to argue. I just needed to see, to confirm what I already knew deep down. When I stepped inside, I was met with silence. Not the comfortable, peaceful kind, but the heavy, unnatural kind. Like the house itself was waiting. And then I saw it. The wall of family photos in the living room. I had noticed the missing pictures before, but now, standing in front of them, it was even worse than I thought. It wasn't just a few missing frames. I had been deliberately cut out. One by one, the moments we had shared, altered. The Yellowstone trip? I had taken that photo, but now, a gap in the composition showed where I had once stood. Christmas morning? Mia had been sitting next to me, unwrapping the book she had begged for all year. But now the image looked wrong, like someone had been cropped out. I took a step back. My breathing was steady, but my hands clenched at my sides. This wasn't an accident. This was intentional. The floor above me creaked. A door softly clicked shut. Mia. I stayed still, listening. She had noticed I was here. For a moment, there was silence. Then, after a slight hesitation, her footsteps moved toward the stairs. I turned just in time to see her coming down, phone in hand, avoiding my eyes. She didn't greet me, didn't say anything, just walked past, heading toward the kitchen. Morning, I said, my voice even. She paused, just for a second. Then, without looking at me, she muttered, morning. The tension in the air was thick. 3 years of building trust, of bonding, of being the one who was always there. And this is where we had ended up. That's a lot of calls you made, I continued, keeping my tone neutral. Finally, she glanced at me. Mom wanted me to. So it hadn't been her. Of course not. She shifted uncomfortably, fingers gripping her phone like it was a lifeline. How long has this been going on? I asked. She frowned. What? The photos. The erasing. How long? She looked at me now, fully. And there it was, the same defiance I had seen last night. But beneath it, I caught something else. Something smaller, something fragile. Guilt. A while, she admitted. Before last night? She nodded. I let that sink in. So this wasn't just a reaction to our fight. This wasn't just a teenage outburst. She had been preparing for this. Is this what you wanted? I asked quietly. To pretend I was never here? She exhaled sharply, looking away. It's not like that. Then what's it like? Her jaw tightened. I don't know, okay? It felt easier. Easier? Yeah, she snapped. Easier than having to explain. Easier than. She cut herself off, shaking her head like she'd already said too much. I watched her carefully. Explain what, Mia? Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. I didn't have to ask who it was. Jordan. Of course. Mia, I said slowly, how long has he been talking to you? She hesitated. That was all the confirmation I needed. I took a step closer. Before last night? Before this week? Another hesitation. Months, she finally admitted. I closed my eyes briefly, letting the weight of that settle. Months. While I had been in this house, thinking everything was fine, he had been in her ear, feeding her his version of the truth. Did Mom know? She nodded. She didn't want to tell you. She thought it would just make things worse. Worse. Rachel had known. She had known Jordan was back, that he was talking to Mia, filling her head with whatever lies he had convinced himself of, and she had let it happen. Did he tell you to do it? I asked, voice steady. Erase me? Mia's lips parted slightly. That flicker of guilt flashed again. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I nodded slowly, stepping back. Got it. Mia shifted uncomfortably. It's not. I raised a hand. You don't have to explain. I turned away, heading toward the door. I had heard enough. Because now I knew the truth. This wasn't just about her being mad at me. This wasn't just about teenage rebellion. This was Jordan's influence. And Rachel had let it happen. As I walked out of the house, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. I didn't drive far. I couldn't. I pulled into an empty parking lot outside a closed cafe, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The anger that had been simmering since last night was boiling over, but it wasn't just anger. It was something worse, betrayal. Mia had been talking to Jordan for months. Rachel had known, and neither of them had told me. I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel, taking slow, measured breaths. I wasn't going to break down. I wasn't going to lose control. I needed to think. My phone buzzed against the passenger seat. I didn't have to look to know who it was. I let it ring. I let the silence stretch. Then I picked it up. 27 missed calls yesterday. Another 8 this morning. Rachel, Mia, Olivia, and now, a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Mr. Carter? The voice was unfamiliar, professional. A woman. This is Mrs. Taylor, Mia's guidance counselor at Westbridge High. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I sat up. No, it's fine. What's going on? A pause. A measured inhale. I wanted to reach out because I've noticed some recent changes in Mia's academic plans that concern me. My grip on the phone tightened. Changes? Yes. As of yesterday, she submitted withdrawal forms for all her advanced placement classes. She's also dropping French club and student council. I asked her why, and she said she's transferring schools next semester. I nearly dropped the phone. She what? Mrs. Taylor continued, her voice calm but laced with concern. She requested her transcripts be sent to 3 schools in Chicago. My stomach twisted. Jordan. Chicago. I ran a hand down my face. And you're just now telling me this? To be honest, I would have contacted you sooner, but her mother signed off on everything. I assumed it was a family decision. A bitter laugh escaped me. Yeah. No. Definitely not a family decision. Another pause. I see. Mr. Carter, I don't mean to overstep, but I've known Mia since freshman year. She's always been driven, ambitious. She had a clear college plan, and now, within a matter of days, she's giving it all up to follow someone to another city. That's not normal. No, it wasn't. It was textbook manipulation. I shut my eyes, inhaling deeply. She said anything else? Just that she's found a new opportunity, and that her father believes she's wasting her potential here. Her father. Not me. Not the man who had raised her. Not the man who had been at every school function, every late-night breakdown, every moment when she needed someone. Jordan had swooped in after years and already convinced her she needed to throw her future away for him. I forced my voice to stay level. Did she mention what kind of opportunity? A beat of hesitation. She said it was something in business. A startup. I clenched my jaw. Let me guess. Her father's startup? Yes. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just disbelief. Just rage bubbling beneath the surface. I knew exactly what was happening. Jordan had done this before. Not just to Mia, not just to Rachel, to others. Years ago, he had convinced Rachel to loan him $20,000 for a sure-thing business venture. She never saw a dime of it. When Mia was 13, Jordan had resurfaced, promising her the world, only to vanish 2 weeks later, right after getting another $5,000 out of Rachel. And now, he was back. I exhaled slowly, gripping my knee. Mrs. Taylor, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Do you think Mia is making these decisions because she truly believes in them, or do you think she's being manipulated? Another pause. Then, quietly, I think she's being manipulated. I closed my eyes. That was all I needed to hear. Thank you, I said. I appreciate the call. If there's anything I can do, I'll handle it, I said. And I would. I hung up, staring out the windshield. Mia wasn't just pulling away from me. She was being ripped away. I knew Jordan. I knew his tricks. He was laying the groundwork for something bigger. Convincing her to erase me was just step one. The next step? Get her dependent on him. Get her financially tied to him. Make sure she feels like he's the only one who believes in her. I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't. I took another breath, steadying myself. First things first. I needed to see Rachel. I turned the ignition, backed out of the parking lot, and headed home. When I pulled into the driveway, Rachel's car was already there. Good. I stepped out and walked up to the door, knocking sharply. A moment later, the door opened. Rachel stood there, arms crossed, eyes guarded. You're back. I pushed past her, stepping inside. Where's Mia? She's out, Rachel said, shutting the door. What's going on? I turned to face her. You tell me. Because I just got off the phone with Mrs. Taylor, and she says our daughter is dropping out of everything and transferring to Chicago. Rachel's expression faltered, just for a second. Then, her walls went back up. I was going to tell you, she said. When? My voice was sharp now. When she was already gone? Rachel sighed, rubbing her temple. Lucas, how long have you known? I interrupted. How long have you known he's been back? That he's been talking to her? That he's been filling her head with this garbage? Her lips pressed together. A few months. My stomach twisted. Months. I took a slow step closer. And you didn't think I deserved to know? Rachel lifted her chin. I thought I could handle it. You thought you could handle Jordan? I scoffed. The same man who stole from you? The same man who lied to Mia, abandoned her, disappeared for years at a time? You really thought he just wanted to be a father now? Rachel hesitated. I ran a hand down my face. Jesus, Rachel. I was scared, she snapped suddenly. All right? I was scared that if I pushed too hard, she'd cut me out, that she'd choose him. I inhaled sharply. So instead, you let her erase me. Silence. Rachel exhaled, looking away. I didn't know what to do. I nodded slowly. Well, now you don't have a choice. Rachel blinked. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone. I'm stopping this. Now. Rachel's face paled. What are you going to do? I met her eyes. I'm going to make sure he never gets the chance to do this to her, or anyone again. Rachel stood in front of me, arms crossed, lips pressed into a tight line. I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers twitched at her sides. But I didn't care. I wasn't here to argue. I was here to end this. You can't just stop Jordan, Rachel said, voice sharp. He's already gotten into Mia's head. If you push too hard, you'll just make her run to him faster. She's already running, I shot back. Or did you miss the part where she's transferring schools? Where she's about to hand him her entire college fund? Rachel flinched. I didn't. Didn't what? I demanded. Didn't think it would go this far? Didn't think he'd do it again? I let out a bitter laugh. You should have known better. We both should have. Her jaw tightened. You think I don't feel guilty? I think you're more worried about keeping Mia's trust than keeping her safe. That one landed. Her face crumpled for half a second before she masked it. I exhaled, running a hand down my face. Look, I don't have time for this. You want to keep pretending like Jordan's not dangerous? Fine. But I'm not standing by and letting him do to Mia what he's done to you. What he's done to God knows how many other people. Rachel stared at me, something flickering behind her eyes. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the folder I had created years ago, the one I had hoped I'd never need again. Then I turned the screen toward her. Rachel's breath hitched. There it was. The evidence. Jordan's history of scams. The fake business ventures, the stolen money, the victims who had tried and failed to get justice. This isn't just about Mia, I said. This is his pattern. He finds people, gains their trust, makes them believe in him, and then he drains them dry and moves on to the next target. Rachel's face paled as she scrolled through the files. Where did you get all this? I've been keeping track since the last time he showed up, I admitted. I had a feeling he'd come back one day. Rachel swallowed. And Mia is his next investment, I finished. Unless we stop him. Rachel stared at the phone, her hands tightening around it. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You have a plan, she finally said. I do. She hesitated. What is it? I exhaled. We take him down. Legally. Publicly. We expose him. Rachel's expression darkened. How? I glanced at my phone. With a little help, I scrolled through my contacts and called Olivia. She picked up on the second ring. Lucas. I need a favor. A pause. Is this about Mia? Yes. And Jordan. Silence. Then, what do you need? I looked at Rachel. Connections. Someone who can help us take him down for good. Olivia didn't even hesitate. I know someone at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Jordan's running a fraud scheme. If he's soliciting investments under false pretenses, they can investigate. My grip on the phone tightened. That's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to get Mia and her friend's parents to invest in his startup. Olivia cursed under her breath. All right, I'll make some calls. Send me everything you have. Already on it. We hung up, and I turned back to Rachel. Step 1. Get the SEC involved. Step 2. Get the police involved. Step 3? I smiled coldly. Set a trap? Rachel exhaled. You want to bait him? Exactly. She looked uncertain. Lucas, if we do this, Mia's going to hate us. For a while? Probably. I met her eyes. But I'd rather she hate me for stopping him than resent me for letting him ruin her life. Rachel looked away. She won't forgive me. She will, I said. Eventually. Rachel exhaled. And if this doesn't work? I shrugged. Then at least I'll know I did everything I could. Rachel hesitated, then nodded. What's the plan? I pulled up Jordan's latest text from the family group chat. Big announcement at dinner tomorrow night. Can't wait to share the news. I smirked. We're going to crash his party. The next evening, I sat outside the restaurant, watching the guests arrive. Rachel sat beside me, twisting a napkin in her hands. She looked nervous. Good. She should be. Are you sure this will work? She asked. It's already working, I said, nodding toward a black sedan parked nearby. Inside? Federal agents. And inside the restaurant? 3 parents wearing hidden microphones. Jordan was about to sell them on his fake company, and we were about to catch him in the act. Rachel exhaled. Mia's inside. I know. She's going to be furious. I know. She looked at me. You still want to do this? I turned to her. Would you rather let her sign over her college fund to a con artist? Rachel didn't answer. I opened the car door. Let's go. Inside, the restaurant was buzzing with conversation. Jordan sat at the head of a long table, exuding confidence, smiling at Mia like she was his prized possession. I wanted to break his nose. Instead, I walked forward. Jordan's smile faltered when he saw me. Lucas, he said, feigning surprise. Didn't expect to see you here. I smirked. I figured if you were having a family dinner, I should be invited. Mia's face darkened. Dad, what are you doing here? I ignored her, turning to Jordan. So, tell me about this business opportunity. I hear it's a once-in-a-lifetime investment. Jordan's smile didn't waver, but I saw the flicker of hesitation. That's right, he said smoothly. I'm giving my family and close friends the chance of a lifetime. I nodded. And all you need is a few $100,000 from the people you love? His eyes sharpened. Lucas, I don't think this is the time or place. I smirked. Actually, it's the perfect time. I turned toward the doorway. Because there are some people who'd like to join us. On cue, the agents entered. Jordan's face drained of color. The agents walked straight toward him. Jordan Williams? Jordan stood quickly. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake, one agent said, holding up a folder. We have evidence of securities fraud, wire fraud, and investment fraud. You're under arrest. Mia gasped. Jordan turned to her. Sweetheart, I don't know what's happening. This is just a misunderstanding. Mia looked at me, wide-eyed. And for the first time in months, I saw doubt in her face. Dad, she whispered. I met her gaze. I told you, kid. Real family protects you. And as Jordan was cuffed and dragged away, I saw the moment Mia realized. I had never been the villain in this story. The restaurant was silent. The kind of silence that comes after a disaster, after the dust has settled but no one knows what to say. Jordan was gone. The federal agents had led him out in handcuffs, their voices calm, professional, as they read him his rights. A few guests had gasped, others had frozen in place, not sure whether to pretend they hadn't just witnessed a takedown or to start whispering about it immediately. But the only reaction I cared about was Mia's. She stood there, unmoving, staring at the door Jordan had just been dragged through. Her shoulders were tense, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. I could see it happening in real time, the shattering of the illusion. I took a careful step toward her. Mia, don't, she snapped. Her voice was sharp, but it wavered, just enough to tell me she was trying to hold herself together. She turned slowly, her eyes blazing. But beneath the anger, I saw something else. Betrayal. You set him up, she said. I held her gaze. I protected you. Protected me? Her voice rose slightly, sharp enough that a few lingering guests looked over before awkwardly turning away. You ambushed him. You got him arrested. I exhaled. Mia, listen to me. Jordan wasn't who you thought he was. He was. I know who he is, she shouted, her face red now. He's my father. I flinched. I didn't mean to, but it hit harder than I expected. Not because she still saw him that way, but because she said it like I wasn't. Rachel placed a hand on Mia's arm, her voice soothing. Sweetheart, he was scamming you. He was scamming all of us. Mia yanked her arm away. You both lied to me. You humiliated him in front of everyone. Do you have any idea how that felt? Rachel's face fell. Mia, I hate you. The words cut through the room like a whip. Rachel froze. I swallowed hard. Mia's chest was rising and falling fast, her breaths uneven, tears brimming in her eyes. But she wasn't done. I trusted you, she said, voice breaking. I thought. She shook her head violently. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to ruin everything. Rachel tried again. Mia, we were trying to keep you safe. Mia let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Right. Safe. She turned her glare on me. You never wanted me to have a relationship with him. You just waited for an excuse to get rid of him. My jaw clenched. That's not true. Isn't it? She challenged. You were jealous. You couldn't stand that he came back, that I wanted to be with him. I exhaled slowly, pushing down the frustration, the exhaustion, the sheer helplessness of trying to reach her through the anger. You know what hurts the most? She continued, voice trembling. I thought you were different. I thought you actually. She cut herself off, pressing her lips together, shaking her head. I stepped closer. Mia, I love you. Her breath hitched, just barely. No, you don't. You just want to control me. That one hurt. That one hurt like hell. Because I had spent 16 years proving to her that I wasn't Jordan. That I wouldn't leave, that I wouldn't hurt her, that I wouldn't lie. And now, in her eyes, I was the villain. I nodded slowly. Okay, I said, voice steady. If that's what you believe, then I won't try to convince you otherwise. Mia blinked, caught off guard. But let me ask you one thing, I continued. If he was innocent, why did he run? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I stepped closer. If he was telling the truth, if he really loved you, why did he ask you to cut me out of your life? Why did he ask you to lie to your mom? Why did he need your money? She shook her head. He was trying to help me. By stealing your college fund? I asked gently. Mia's breathing was shaky now. I could see it, the cracks forming, the battle inside her as her heart and her brain fought to make sense of what had just happened. He said it was an investment, she whispered. I softened my voice. It wasn't. It was a scam. And you weren't the only one he was trying to fool. Tears spilled over, and she angrily wiped them away. I knew better than to push her, so I let her stand there, arms wrapped around herself, the truth sinking in, breaking apart everything she had convinced herself to believe. Rachel reached for her again, but Mia stepped back. I need, I need to go. Rachel looked at me, silently asking what to do. I shook my head. Let her. Mia turned and walked out of the restaurant, shoulders stiff, head down. Rachel hesitated, then exhaled. She hates us. I shook my head. She doesn't. Rachel looked at me. She just said it to our faces. I met her eyes. She's hurting. She's confused. She's mad. I exhaled. But she doesn't hate us. Rachel's expression wavered. How do you know? Because deep down, she knows the truth. Rachel swallowed. And now? I stared at the door Mia had just walked through, feeling the weight of everything that had happened, of everything that was still ahead. Now, I said quietly, we wait. Waiting. That was the hardest part. I had spent months watching Mia slip away, and now, after everything, after exposing Jordan, after watching her break right in front of me, I had no choice but to wait. It had been 3 days since the restaurant. 3 days since she had stormed out, since she had looked at me like I was the one who had betrayed her, since she had walked away without turning back. And in those 3 days, nothing. No calls. No texts. Silence. Rachel was struggling with it in her own way. She had spent the first day pacing, picking up her phone every 5 minutes like she expected Mia to magically change her mind and come home. By the second day, she had gone quiet, the exhaustion settling in her bones. By the third, she looked like she had aged 5 years. I didn't tell her, but I had barely slept. I told myself it was because I was waiting for Mia to reach out, but the truth? The truth was, I was terrified she wouldn't. What if we had pushed too hard? What if we had done the right thing but lost her in the process? What if, after everything, Jordan still won? The thought alone made me sick. So when my phone finally buzzed on the morning of the 4th day, I nearly knocked my coffee over trying to grab it. Mia. A text. Just one sentence. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long moment, my heart hammering. Then I typed back, of course. Where? A few seconds passed. Then, ice cream place? I exhaled. 3 years. That's how long we had been going to that little ice cream shop. It had started as a tradition after her dance classes, a way to bribe her into talking to me when she was younger. Over time, it became our thing. And now? She was reaching out. I grabbed my keys. The shop was nearly empty when I got there. It was late afternoon, too early for the usual evening crowd, but I had a feeling Mia had picked it for that reason. She was already there, sitting in the corner booth, hands wrapped around a small cup of mint chocolate chip, the same flavor she had always gotten. But she looked different. Not angry, not defiant, just tired. I walked over slowly, sliding into the seat across from her. She didn't look up at first, just kept her gaze on her ice cream, poking at it with her spoon. Finally, she exhaled. I don't know how to start. Then don't, I said gently. Just say whatever's on your mind. She hesitated. Then, quietly, I feel stupid. That took me off guard. Why? Her fingers tightened around the cup. Because I should have known. I should have seen it. But she swallowed. I wanted it to be real so bad that I ignored everything. I let her sit in that silence for a moment. Then I said, that doesn't make you stupid, Mia. That makes you human. Her eyes flicked up to mine, searching. You're not mad? I was never mad at you, I said softly. Frustrated? Sure. Scared? Definitely. But never mad. Her lips parted slightly, like she hadn't expected that. I leaned forward. Mia, you were lied to. Manipulated. That's not on you. That's on him. Her jaw clenched and I saw it again. That flicker of anger, but this time, it wasn't directed at me. Why did he do it? She asked. I sighed. Because that's who he is. He takes. He convinces people to give up everything for him, and then he disappears. It's what he's always done. She exhaled, rubbing her temple. I feel so stupid for believing him. You believed him because you wanted to, I said. And that's okay. We all want to believe that people can change. But the important thing isn't that you believed him. It's that now, you see the truth. She let that sit for a while. Then, barely above a whisper, she asked, why didn't you fight me harder? I frowned. What do you mean? When I was pulling away, When I erased you from the photos. When I said, she swallowed hard. When I said all those things. Why didn't you stop me? I studied her carefully. Would it have worked? She blinked. I shook my head. You weren't ready to hear the truth yet. If I had pushed harder, you would have just run faster. Her throat bobbed. But I never gave up on you, Mia, I added. Not for a second. She inhaled sharply, her grip on the spoon tightening. I said I hated you. I nodded. You did. She looked away, guilt flickering across her face. I didn't mean it. I know. Finally, her shoulders sagged, the weight she had been carrying for weeks crashing down. I'm sorry, she whispered. I reached across the table, covering her hand with mine. I know. She sniffed, wiping her nose. You're supposed to say, it's okay. I smiled gently. No, it's not okay. But it will be. She let out a breathy laugh, shaking her head. God, you're such a dad. I chuckled. You're just realizing that now? She rolled her eyes but didn't pull her hand away. Mom's been freaking out, she admitted. I figured. She thought I wasn't coming home. I met her gaze. Are you? She hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. I exhaled, relief washing over me. But Mia wasn't done. One condition, she said. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. She took a deep breath. I want to help. I frowned. Help with what? She looked me straight in the eye. I want to make sure he never does this to anyone else. I blinked. Mia. No, she said firmly. He used me. He used my friends. He almost stole my future. And I let him. Her hands clenched into fists. I don't want to just move on like it never happened. I want to do something about it. I studied her carefully, pride swelling in my chest. She wasn't just healing. She was fighting back. And I wasn't going to stop her. I nodded. Okay. She exhaled in relief. Okay. I glanced at her melted ice cream. You gonna eat that? She snorted. It's basically soup now. I grinned. Another round? She hesitated, then smiled. Yeah, let's do it. We stood up, walking toward the counter. And for the first time in months, Mia walked beside me. Not as someone trying to escape, but as someone ready to rebuild. Healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable. Some days, it feels like progress. Other days, it feels like you're right back where you started. But today felt like progress. Mia had come home. Rachel and I had been sitting in the living room when we heard the front door unlock. The sound was so normal, so routine, that for a second, neither of us reacted. But then I saw Rachel freeze, her hands tightening around the throw pillow on her lap. I turned just in time to see Mia step inside. She wasn't carrying a suitcase, wasn't making a dramatic entrance. She just walked in, like she had done 1,000 times before. Rachel shot up from the couch. Mia? Mia hesitated in the doorway. Yeah, it's me. For a long, painful moment, Rachel didn't move. Like she wasn't sure if this was real, or if one wrong word would make Mia walk right back out. Then, she took a careful step forward. Are you? Yeah, Mia cut in. I'm staying. Rachel's breath hitched. I saw her throat bob as she swallowed the emotions threatening to spill over. Oh, sweetheart. Before she could finish, Mia crossed the room and hugged her. Rachel collapsed into the hug, wrapping her arms around Mia like she was afraid to let go. I sat back, watching them, letting them have this moment. Then Mia turned to me. She didn't rush toward me the way she had with Rachel, but she didn't hesitate, either. She just looked at me for a long second, then nodded. I meant what I said at the ice cream shop, she murmured. I nodded back. I know. And just like that, the weight I had been carrying for weeks finally started to lift. She was home. The next few days felt lighter. Mia wasn't avoiding us anymore. She didn't immediately go to her room and shut the door. She was still quiet, still processing everything, but she was here. She asked Rachel for help with her history project. She sat next to me on the couch and stole my popcorn during a movie. She stayed at the dinner table instead of rushing off after eating. Small things. Huge things. Then, one night, she knocked on my office door. I looked up from my laptop. Hey, kid. She stepped inside, holding a manila envelope. "I found this in my room," she said, placing it on my desk. "Jordan asked me to mail it last week." I frowned, picking it up. "What is it?" "Investment paperwork. For his startup." I flipped through the documents, my stomach twisting. Sure enough, it was exactly what I thought it was. A contract for an initial investment of $50,000. "Mia," I said slowly, "were you actually going to sign this?" She shifted uncomfortably. I thought about it. I wanted to prove I believed in him. I exhaled sharply. "And now?" She met my gaze. "I want to add it to the evidence file." I studied her. "You sure?" "Yeah." She squared her shoulders. "I want to be the one to hand it over." A slow smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. "All right." I reached for my phone. "Tomorrow morning, we deliver it together." The next morning, we walked into the district attorney's office. Mia had been quiet in the car, but now, as we stood in the hallway, I could see her nerves creeping in. She was gripping the envelope tightly, her fingers twitching slightly. I nudged her. "You okay?" She nodded quickly. "Yeah, it's weird." "What is?" She exhaled. "I spent so long thinking he was the one person who really saw me, who believed in me. And now, I'm helping put him away." I nodded. "That's not easy." She let out a soft laugh. "No, it's really not." I glanced at her hands. "You don't have to do this if you're not ready." She tightened her grip on the envelope. "I am." Before I could say anything else, the door opened, and a woman in a navy blue suit stepped out. "Mr. Carter?" "Mia." Mia straightened. "That's us." The woman smiled. "I'm Assistant District Attorney Wells. Come on in." The meeting didn't take long. Mia handed over the documents. She answered their questions. She told them everything she had heard Jordan say, every promise he had made, every lie he had fed her. She didn't hesitate. And when we left the office, stepping out into the cool morning air, she let out a deep breath and smiled. I raised an eyebrow. That a relief smile or a nervous smile? "A little of both," she admitted. I grinned. "Proud of you, kid." She smirked. "You gonna start saying kiddo next?" "Absolutely not," I said. "You'd disown me." She laughed, really laughed. And God, I had missed that sound. Then she nudged me. "Ice cream?" I blinked. "At 10 in the morning?" She grinned. "Breakfast of champions." I shook my head, chuckling. "Let's do it." And as we walked down the sidewalk, heading toward our favorite shop, I realized something. This wasn't just healing. This was rebuilding. Mia had made a choice. She had chosen the truth. She had chosen to fight back. And most importantly, she had chosen me.